Guys, everybody, hello everybody, and welcome back to Between the Ropes TV. Of course, this is the massive one. We are talking about Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte. We're also going to talk a bit about the undercard, not in detail. We're going to talk about how dreadful it is. We're going to talk about Mr. Frank Warren. Is it time that he went to the retirement home? And of course, we're going to cover the actual big fight itself. Guys, as always, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new here. Gents, it's it is finally the week, isn't it? It is the week of Fury versus Whyte. And how buzzing are you both for it?
Do you want to go first, Ray?
Yeah, I'm excited. I really am. This is almost like the semi-final, if you like.
Yeah.
I'm still expecting all this talk about Fury. He's going to retire after this fight. I don't believe that. I think it helps sell the fight. Plus, Fury's a bit of a wild card, isn't he? He says things off the cuff. And this is one of those comments as well. I'm expecting the winner of this to go for the winner of Usyk and Joshua. But this is a long time coming. Britain deserves a massive fight after what we've been going through. We deserve a massive stadium fight. And I'm glad it's here instead of being somewhere like Saudi Arabia or the States. But it's really, really exciting. It's just a shame, though, that Dillian Whyte hasn't been at any of these press conferences. He started to come up with the Zoom ones, but that would have just put the cherry on top for me. But I'm really, really excited for this fight.
Well, it's one of them, isn't it? He is now in the country and he is now starting to promote. We're led to believe there was a lot of contractual situations that still needed to be sorted out. Even, and I just think Whyte has gone, do you know what? I'm not going to let them play their head games. I'm not going to let Frank Warren get in my head. I'm not going to let Tyson Fury get in my head. I'm just going to stay in Portugal where he lives. He's just going to train, and that's what he's done. And I think it could end up a masterclass to not even give Fury the chance to goad people, because I said on the last video, I think Fury enjoys goading the fighter beforehand as much as he does getting in the ring on the night. I think he's part of that big spectacle. Josh, do you feel that maybe that might give Whyte a bit of an upper hand?
I don't know if it gives Whyte an upper hand, but I agree with you. I think it's genius. Like, the silence is deafening springs to mind as a phrase. And I don't know if it gives him an upper hand, but it certainly takes away the upper hand that Tyson Fury normally gets. I mean, we saw even with Deontay Wilder doing the headphones thing, you could see he was still riled, and he could obviously still hear what Tyson Fury was saying, and he was still sort of not happy with it. Whereas what Dillian Whyte's done is just totally negated that, took it away. And I think it's royal Fury, hasn't it? Because you could see at the press conference that he was on his own at, as much as he tried to laugh and joke about it, I think out of his camp, like his dad said, it's disrespectful to the heavyweight champion of the world to not even turn up to the press conference. And obviously, there's contractual situations. And obviously, if the stuff's true about Dillian Whyte's been given 6 tickets, that's disgusting. It's not just the Tyson Fury show, as big a name as Tyson Fury is. He needs a dance partner, as they keep saying. And Dillian Whyte, I think, in the world today, the top 4 heavyweights you'd have to say are, as Ray said, it's a semi-final. You've got Fury, Whyte, and then Joshua and Usyk. And these two, be 3 fights, won't it, if the winners go? It's about sorting that order out. So, yeah, I'm really, really excited for this one.
I mean, obviously, there's so much to talk about on this, but let's jump into actually talking about the actual fight itself. I'm going to start off with a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to get probably between you both. I think Fury undeservedly goes into this one, probably with the bookies and a lot of people, as an undeserved favourite. I don't think, really, when you see his fights with Deontay Wilder, Dillian Whyte's a completely different fighter to Deontay Wilder. We know he'll get in, he'll brawl, he'll want that fight. Wilder was a lot more standoffish, and it's fair to say that Dillian Whyte is a lot better boxer. Tyson Fury realistically has not fought a decent opponent apart from Deontay Wilder since 2015 when he beat Klitschko. He went away for 3 years, he's then come back, and he came back with, let's be honest, so everyone apart from Wilder has been nowhere near Whyte's level. And I think he goes into it, for me, massive favourite. I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed because I don't think it happens. Ray, I'll let you give your thoughts on that statement.
I think Tyson Fury, first of all, deserves to be the favorite. He deserves to be the big draw. He beat the man who beat the man in Vladimir Klitschko, and then to come up away from that layoff that he had for the reasons he was out the ring. It wasn't just he was out the ring because of contractual disputes or he was injured. He had a lot going on physically and psychologically. He come back and we give him a lot of stick, and I give him the more stick more than anyone. But he meeting monster in Deontay Wilder. We haven't seen a hard hitting puncher in Deontay Wilder since George Foreman or Ernie Shavers. Deontay Wilder could knock anyone out at any split second.
Yeah.
So and to be fair, he could have lost to Deontay Wilder twice because those knockdowns were heavy knockdowns. But having said that, we'll talk about the opponents that Fury's resume is probably the worst out there. Whyte, Joshua, it's nowhere near as good as Joshua's. It's not even as good as Usyk's. But having said that, he's done a job. He's done a job on everyone that he's need to face. My thing with Tyson Fury is the better the opponent, the better Fury is. When he's fought people that he couldn't get up for. You saw what happened with John McDermott the first fight.
Yeah,
in my opinion, he lost that fight. You saw what happened with Otto Wallin. That was another scrappy fight that it could have been stopped because of the cuts, etc. So when he knows he's got an opponent that can bring it, like Dillian Whyte, you see the best of Tyson Fury. So I'm expecting him to win and look good.
I mean, we've obviously seen clips that obviously BT have been posting of when Fury went to America, the one where he's literally got his hands behind his back and he's just avoiding the fighter's punches. Josh, that's not going to happen with Dillian Whyte, isn't it? Is it? And I think a lot of people presuming that maybe Fury gets a knockout, but more importantly, if he doesn't get the knockout, he's just got to coast through and win it on points anyway. Everyone's saying Whyte needs the knockout. Do you think that's fair? Because I'm not sure it's going to be that said and done. I really don't. I think people are massively underestimating what Whyte can offer, even on a point basis as well.
I think it's really tough because with the drama that was in all three of the Wilder fights, and as you say, you sort of respect to what he came back with Otto Wallin with the cuts and he stayed in there, a lesser man would have just sort of took the easy way out. So respect for that. But you are right. He's only fought Wilder, and those three, it's hard to not get lost in the hype of the drama, the getting up off the floor to win. But I think you have to also remember that his resume isn't as good. Whyte's also been to sort of deep waters, as it were. Obviously with Anthony Joshua, that was a 7-round sort of slugfest. Obviously, it was a few years ago, but even at British title level, them two had an absolute war. Parker put him down late on. Obviously, he got caught with the best shot maybe any heavyweight's ever thrown in a ring when Povetkin knocked him out.
As well.
Exactly. Came back and avenged it. So I think you talk about Fury's mental toughness. That's the bit that I don't think Whyte's getting the credit for.
Yeah, definitely.
Whyte's got that same strength. And I don't think Dillian Whyte can outbox Tyson Fury, just because in fairness to Fury, particularly since he went to Sugar Hill, what we have seen from him, he used to be a slick boxer and everyone questioned his punch power, if we're honest. Whereas in fairness to him, he's gone to Sugar Hill and everybody laughed when he said he was going to come forward and push Deontay Wilder back, and he did it. So I just think that the bit that tips me towards Tyson Fury is the fact that he might box a few rounds. We know Dillian Whyte's engine, in fairness, he does go tired from rounds 10 plus, the championship rounds. So I think we might see Tyson Fury box a few rounds, let Whyte start to tire himself out, and then Fury could hit him like a steam train. I personally, might be a bit early, but I'll give my prediction now. I think Fury wins by late stoppage. I think the ref will wave it off.
It's an interesting prediction, that is, because I think back to obviously Wilder versus Fury 1, where, Wilder's big opportunity came in the late rounds, of course. I wonder what Tyson's going to have in the tank between 10 and 12, because I don't know. I personally don't look at him as someone that's usually got everything left. I see if it goes that far, 10 to 12, being a big opportunity for both of them. I think they will be a bit sluggish, but I think it'll be on both sides. And I think when we look at the tactics, Josh, obviously you've just spoke about the Sugar, obviously what Sugar Hill's done. It's put Fury's gone a lot more on the front foot. He's come to knock Deontay Wilder out. Right, I don't know if you can do that with Whyte. I don't know if that's the right tactic because, unlike Wilder, I think Dillian Whyte just goes perfect. This is exactly what I want. Do you think we're going to see the old Fury, the Fury that's a bit more standoffish, or will he welcome that war and we're going to see a punch up like Whyte versus Chisora?
I think you're right. I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think we're going to see the old Fury. The reason why is, I think when he went to Sugar Hill, and I think he moved there on the basis that he realised, hang on, I'm 19, 20 stone. Deontay Wilder's 15 stone. I should be bullying this guy. So that's why he went to Sugar Hill, who is obviously the nephew of Emmanuel Stewart. And Emmanuel Stewart had wonderful right-hand punchers, Tommy Hearns and the like. He had some terrific right-hand punchers, and he's obviously got a decent right hand, not a massive powerful one, and that's why he boxed on the front foot, if you like, because he knew he could bully Wilder. As you're saying, Dillian Whyte's a completely different proposition. He's thicker set, he's stockier. He's not as explosive as a puncher, but he's got a dangerous left hand. I think he keeps that right hand glued to his chin all night long and just uses his left, dance away, uses the right from a certain angle, and then he's out again. I think he goes back to the old Fury, and I think he wins this on points.
It's an interesting one. If you're Dillian Whyte, how do you? Because I don't think that's the one thing you've got to say for Fury. When Fury has just want to dance around, no one's been able to force him away from that and force him into that war. Josh, if you're Whyte and you see him go into that tactic in the early round, and it's clear that we're going to see the old Fury dancing around, picking up the points, and quite happy with the points victory. If you're Dillian Whyte, how do you reckon he goes about forcing Fury into more of that battle and, something that's going to play up to Whyte more?
I think that there's one element that none of us have mentioned yet. The fact that it's at Wembley Stadium, obviously in front of a record crowd of 94,000. And although Fury obviously did the stadium fight in Germany, a lot gets made of his Wilder fights, but it's common knowledge, none of those sold out. No. And Dillian Whyte, he fought, was it Hellenius at Cardiff on one of Anthony Joshua's undercards against Takam? But they weren't for him. This is both fighters' first time, 94,000 fans, they're for them. And I think it's going to be hard with the blatant bad blood that's there. I think both might get drawn into a war naturally. So I don't know if Dillian Whyte's going to have to do that much, really. I mean, if I was Dillian Whyte, I'd be sort of trash talking it, goading him on, because I think the only way Dillian Whyte can win it is if it's just a fight. If as soon as it starts boxing, for me, as much as I rate Dillian Whyte and like him, I don't think he stands a chance with Tyson Fury. But I think that's the best bet. That if the fans are lively, if they can stay awake through the undercard and they're lively, they're on it. I think it turns into a war naturally.
How about going for his body though, Josh? I mean, John, he was called a body snatcher early on in his career, wasn't he? So how about going for Fury's body to stop him from moving?
I think he'll do that anyway. But I think the thing is with Fury, he's 6'9", 20 stone, but he moves like somebody half his size, doesn't he? In fairness to him.
He moves like middleweight, yeah.
And Whyte, like you said, he's not explosive. So I think he has to turn it into a fight to start to get Fury to tire before he's going to be able to land that shot, because Tyson Fury's no mug, Sugar Hill's no mug. His whole camp's around him. He's had a great camp in terms of who's been in, apart from Jarrell Miller. I don't agree with that, but he's been in with some good heavyweights. Joseph Parker, who's done 12 rounds with Dillian Whyte. So he's going to know that left to the body's there. It's so intriguing because there's so many ways the fight could actually sort of unfold. And I think for the first time for me, since I'm going back to Joshua Klitschko, I think there's like genuinely 4 or 5 outcomes that you could of how the fight plays out, that all of which I could believe right now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, obviously we have gone for on backing Whyte. You two say Fury gets the win. Let's talk about the fact that there's going to be 94,000 fans there. Let's talk about the fact that it's going to be £25 for those at home to buy it. And let's talk about the undercard, because usually we cover the fights on the undercard. We all three of us said before that there's not much point, is there? Is this one of the worst undercards in recent history? And Josh, I know you want to say a lot about this. How disgraceful is it, this undercard?
it's embarrassing.
Ray's just got the popcorn ready. Like, yes.
It's genuinely, we had to actually remind ourselves to start recording for anyone watching because we started talking about this before we hit record. Yeah, and it's embarrassing. You know, okay, I appreciate Frank Warren. They've paid $42 million for this fight. And I know Eddie Hearn said they could have price fixed it in terms of they'll do a deal with Fury beforehand. But let's take it at face value, $42 million, fair enough. So then what they've done is put the pay-per-view price up to 25 quid, which obviously is in line, fair enough, with Anthony Joshua. But in fairness to Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua, you get an undercard. Look at his last £25 pay-per-view. It was Usyk in the main event. You had a Coley defending his world title. Yeah. Cameron Smith's debut at 175 in it, which was a live opponent. Campbell Hatton there. So it was stacked from top to bottom of either genuine good prospects we're invested in or world-class fighters. You go back previously, Froch Groves at Wembley, you had James DeGale in a final eliminator, Kevin Mitchell. I'm going back nearly 10 years, but the Klitschko undercard, Matchroom, when they do these stadium fights, they deliver an undercard. So from top to bottom, if it's 5-6 hours, you've got entertaining fights. Frank Warren here, he's took the absolute piss. And then it gets worse because not only has he put the pay-per-view price up for those at home, he moved all the ticket prices as well, didn't he? Like for stadium shows for Matchroom, they start at 40 quid. For Frank Warren, they start at 50 quid. And fair play, you know, I'm not going to knock. They've done 94,000 tickets off the main event. And that's a massive, massive shout out to Tyson Fury and to Dillian Whyte because they've done that.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely embarrassing. I was reading that they've got all the undercards got to be done by 9:30 because of what they're licensed to show. So that's one of his reasons for the undercard being so poor because the main event's got to start by 10 because they've got to be out the stadium by 11. It's pathetic how he's got the front to sell this as a pay-per-view card. If it was a BT show on a Saturday night just flicking through the TV, I'd be watching it, but would I be that invested in it? No, I wouldn't. A show of this level demands an undercard. I know, where's Anthony Yard? I know he came out and said he wasn't available, but why? Because all else he said on it is that he doesn't want to risk his position with the WBO. No, even put him in an average fight, something that will get the fans interested. Because if I got a ticket to Saturday, I wouldn't be turning up there until 9:30 because there's just no point. You're going to see his brother. I mean, the guy's record's not too bad, but who cares about Tommy Fury unless you've watched Love Island? Let's be honest. He bottled the Jake Paul fight. You know, I don't want to hear it. I'm sick to death of Frank Warren. Don't even get in the old people's end for me. Get in the funeral home.
Well, we know that Frank Warren won't be getting a Christmas card from you anytime soon, Josh. But let me put this question to you then, because for me, I just think it's terrible business as a businessman as well, because these fighters have got the opportunity, and I get what Frank Warren's saying about the fact that basically Tyson Fury has took all the money out of this, paying White, paying Fury. Has took the money, but you just tell the fighters that you're performing in front of 94,000 people. You tell them that you have millions watching you at home. I don't believe there's not a better caliber of fighter that would have gone, you know what? I'll accept less money for this one because this could be a really good chance to build a massive boxing following for myself and get people interested in me. It's putting them out in front of millions and millions watching. Could they not have just got someone of a higher caliber just by, even if they didn't pay them as well as usual? For me, I feel that they could have just purely convinced them, come on, just take the smaller payday because you know what? Millions are watching you.
Sorry, Ray, I don't mean to cut anyone off, but I just thought then with you saying that, Frank Warren has been puffing his chest out about his 94,000 sales, giving it the shoulder roll like he loves to do.
With a suit on.
probably talking about who's highly ranked with the WBO. But I've just worked out, so he's adamant, he said it multiple times, this fight does 1.6 million pay-per-view buys on BT. That's 39.92 million. So if he's so confident, which he's been giving it that he is, just off the pay-per-views, and I know BT take a slice, you've nearly paid the fighters. With the tickets he's then put up as well, if you work that out, even at 50 quid times 94,000, There's another 5 million. And that's the top row. Everything else is more expensive. I was reading that people are paying £1,000 for down near the ring. So worst case, you've 10 million quid in ticket sales, probably more than that. He's an absolute disgrace. I don't even know why we're talking about him.
And then you also got to include the marketing that will be done there. There'll be companies paying millions on millions just to get a small little bit of the screen that's going to flash every so often. All the betting companies, etc. They'll be paying millions for their advertising in that arena. It's criminal, isn't it? The undercard.
Yeah, what he's done is thought, oh God, I mean, he didn't even have any fights on in January and February because obviously January, the pandemic shut the UK down. But I'll leave February as well in case it gets extended. What he's done here is think, my God, I am awful. I really am crap at this. I've finally got a big event. Thank you, Eddie Hearn, for building Dillian Whyte into a more than competent dance partner for Tyson Fury, who God knows why Fury signed with him. It must be like his good deed for the year. And he's thought, I need to make a few quid here because I am a joke. That is what he's thought there. I am shit.
Yeah, I mean, with Fury, it's just because it was the only, when he was at his lowest, it was the only one that believed in him. So it was that bit of loyalty, weren't it? But you just think of the fighters he's got on the card, Ray. You think of the likes of Joe Joyce, Dubois. Could we not have just seen some of them? I mean, this is supposed to be one of the biggest fights in history.
Yeah, I would have liked to see one of those. I mean, to be fair, Frank Warren hasn't got that many stars, really. He hasn't got many people. I think Sonny Edwards has now left him, has gone to Probellum.
Yeah.
So he's another one that was originally thinking
Charlie Edwards as well.
Sorry?
Charlie Edwards as well, signed with him briefly. He's now gone to Probellum.
Yeah, he's got to Probellum. So he's only got the three that we mentioned already, the two heavyweights and the light heavyweight yard. Then you've got really David Avanesian. And then I'm struggling to think of anyone else really that you could have that could be in a meaningful fight. He just hasn't got. There's not many people that Frank Warren's got. And you think, Dennis McCann, he's not a bad fighter. I wouldn't mind watching him, but these people have got to be a meaningful fight. And I haven't seen, although we're slating this card, it doesn't surprise me, boys. I haven't seen a good Frank Warren card in several years, and I'm talking about going back to the days when you had the Olympians, James DeGale, Tony Jeffries, Frankie Gavin, Billy Joe Saunders, the first, when you had Billy Joe Saunders. That's the last time I saw a decent Frank Warren card. When I went to see him, Frank Warren card up in Newcastle, when he had Liam Smith against Liam Williams, a rematch, again, that undercard wasn't great, so it doesn't really surprise me like to put our undercard.
No, I mean, it's one of them, isn't it, with this? Because we're gonna talk about more and more throughout the week what happens with this. This won't be our last Fury versus White video this week. I think we'll leave it there, guys.
No. Sorry, Scott. Sorry to cut you off again, but just on this, actually, raise it the nail on the head there. David Avanesian. Why couldn't he fight on this card? I'm sure they could have got another Finnish taxi driver, give him a day off from Uber, because that's all he fights anyway. He, the other week he had a 1-round blowout of Askari Metz, who is now only famous for being that joke that David Avanesian fought. David Avanesian could have easily been on this card. Dennis McCann's another one. I know he fought the other week, but I'd have loved him on. So there's just no excuse. But I just wanted to get that in there, just one last shot in, because he's a disgrace.
Because then you can attempt to build a Conor Benn fight by saying, look, I've got David Avanesian, and look, he's had another blowout. But it just doesn't surprise me with Frank Warren.
Yeah, it really is shocking business, isn't it? And that, guys, let us know your thoughts on the card. Let us know your thoughts on who's going to win the fight as well. Let us know your thoughts on Frank Warren, and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be doing plenty more content as well as a reaction on Saturday night. So, yeah, hopefully see you on the next one. Goodbye.